This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Hang on, okay.
Live from the studios of the RamCave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the April 18th, 2025 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. All right, we're back. We're a week away. It's Friday. So I guess around this time, Roger Goodell will be walking to the platform and saying, no, yesterday was the anniversary. Yeah, that's it. Next Thursday. So we're 6 days away from Roger Goodell going to the platform and saying, with the 26th pick, the Los Angeles Rams select, we'll go from there. I'm excited about it. Interesting. It's always interesting when the Rams have a first-round pick. But I got to tell you, there's part of me that says I don't think we're going to see a first-round pick. I just got a feeling the Rams are going to make a deal. But before we get to that, before we get to some Rams history, before we talk about some minor draft day deals that kind of blew up in incredibly bad ways, let's talk about a little bit around the Jalen Ramsey thing again. Just one more time, a brief walkthrough. On Wednesday, I shared that I used the Spot Track numbers that said Ramsey's a cap hit, an actual cap hit of 16.6 this year. Now, I know there's all kinds of bonuses here and there and all that sort of stuff, but that's what they listed as a cap hit. In 2026, his cap hit is 25 with a dead cap hit of 18.4. 2027, it's 26.8 with an 11.7 dead cap hit. And then in 2028, money he'll never see, 36 rocks for 4.9. Now, I went to over the cap because a lot of you folks were saying, hey, I don't think he has any guaranteed money. So over the cap lists 24.2 rocks for 2025 as guaranteed, but they list 2026 through 2028 with no guaranteed money. If none of that money's guaranteed, what's the problem? Then you make the deal. I'm just trying to figure out how you can take a dead cap hit for money that's not guaranteed. I'm just trying to figure that out. There's a lot of moving parts to the salary cap, something I thought I knew, but maybe I don't know well enough. But if somebody wants to give us some clarification on that, over the cap listing with no guaranteed money, all right? Okay, he got all of his guaranteed money up front for 3 years, 26 through 28. There's no guaranteed money. I don't know why he'd take that contract, right? You got to spread it out. You got to do something because they can move off of him real fast. But yet they also list him as having a dead cap hit of 18.4. So just it seems contradictory to me. So I'll take any correction on that. If there is no guaranteed money and you're not on the hook, then make the deal. I have no problem with that. I'm not expecting him to be an elite corner. I'm not expecting him to be a shutdown guy. I'm expecting him to just be a really good football player with a high IQ that could really help this team. He would be the pennant chase guy the Rams bring in just down the stretch to seal things and close the deal like teams used to do in Major League Baseball. Somebody you make the deal for and just to kind of, almost like the Von Miller type, something in to close the deal in the back half of the season. Instead, you'd get him in the front half. I like the idea, especially when we know what we're getting with Jalen Ramsey in terms of attitude, character, personality, and everything. But it all comes down to I don't understand those numbers that there's no guaranteed money, but there's dead cap money you still owe. That means if there's dead cap money you still owe, you're still on the hook for it. And so I'm just curious. It's all about the cap. They can give him $10 billion for all I care. It's just all about the cap. Okay, let's move on from that. We don't know if that's going to happen. We don't know. We're not sure. Although the Rams, they do have a history of bringing back former players. They brought back Darius Williams. They keep bringing back Troy Reader. I feel like there should be a movie called Troy Reader is Risen from the Grave. They brought back Ahkello Witherspoon. They do bring players back. They brought back John Johnson. Heck, they even brought back Jonah Williams for a couple of games last year. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility the Rams could bring him back. All right. Let's see here. Boy, they're right there. Bill, 6 days to the draft. Wow. And Bill asserts the Rams will trade back. The story of our draft. Okay, Bill, I was feeling you. I was picking up some vibe from you today as I prepped the show. The feeling I'm getting just looking at it right now is the Rams are going to trade back. They're just going to. Unless there's some exceptional offensive player that they're looking at that we don't know about that is there, they're going to move back because I don't think they want something we've talked about before. They don't want that gap from 26 to 90, which is where the meat of the draft is, right? It's the meat of the draft. Daniel Jeremiah has shared it. Other people have talked about it, and we can see it because pretty much almost anything that's available at 26, you can get at 36, right? You know that. So if somebody really wants something and is hungry for something, I got a feeling there is going to be a run on quarterbacks. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jalen Milroe go on the first night or very early on the second day, just because everyone talks a good game, but then there's that moment where it's like, no, man, I need that quarterback. And I saw Bucky Brooks' mock draft the other day, and I saw Bucky Brooks' mock draft has Jackson Dart going to the Steelers at number 21. So I think people are going to panic, and so there will be people that want to move up. And quarterback's not exactly the burning need for the Rams right now, not for 2025. So I can see the Rams moving back 10 spots, 12, 13 spots. And so the other thing I wanted to say here is don't discount picks in the later rounds. We know that through the Puka Nacua stuff and everything, but they all add up, especially when you trade. The key rule here is for me is don't trade in the division, and I'll share that with you. So I did another Rams mock draft, and I did it very soberly. I stayed focused on players the Rams have interviewed, so I'd stay in the box a little bit, but I traded back. And I found the Bears on one of the mock drafts I did were willing to trade back with me. So at 26, I traded with the Bears and picked up number 39, number 72, and number 33. Tell me if that looks good to you guys, what you think about that. That was what I did in my mock draft today. Tim Burns. We aren't drafting a tight end or a linebacker or a tackle at 26. It leaves quarterback, wide receiver, or CB. Dart at quarterback, Matthew Golden at wide receiver, maybe Maxwell Harrison, cornerback at Kentucky. My only contention on that would be about Maxwell Harrison is because I've seen him in the second round, and the only thing that would push him into the first round is a team like the Rams desperate for a corner when you could make that move and make that trade and not have to. Tribe. Ramsey is a no-brainer. Corner, inside linebacker out of top two needs. Our top two needs. Yeah, I agree. Tim Burns, our Super Bowl run, we had a stopper at all three levels. Ramsey would be our back-end stopper. Now we need Wagner or a Wagner, not a Reader. Hey, I don't sell Spates short, and I think the Rams will draft a linebacker. I really do. Let's see here. What else we got here? USA expat. Move up for a quarterback? Sure. Give us a call and make a great offer. I agree. That's right. They might be really hungry on that board. Again, we saw, I think Bo Nix must have jumped about 25 slots in last year's draft because they were projecting him second round into the 40s and 50s, and he pushed all the way into the teens. So, yeah, I think there is a possibility, and people are talking up Jalen Milroe right now. Now, maybe his agent's putting that stuff out, but they're putting him out. So I made the deal at 26, and I picked up pick number 39, and lo and behold, guess who was there? The guy that was there was Trey Amos out of Mississippi. So I took him, and I thought that worked. I thought that worked pretty good. Steve Ramirez, teams like getting that quarterback late first round because if he hits, they get that 5th-year option, which puts the Rams in a sweet spot at 26. Good call there, Steve. Bill, Ramsey would be like when the Philadelphia Phillies signed Pete Rose. Yeah, a year later, huh? They got him in 79. A year later, they won the World Series. USA X-Pac. Nice pick, Joe. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. At pick number 72, thinking that the Rams needed a receiver and who they were looking at and who they've had some kind of interview process with, I dropped in this Ole Miss receiver again, Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, 6'3", 210. So we'll take Lane Kiffin's cornerback and we'll take his wide receiver, but we'll pass on his quarterback there. So Trey Harris, I took him, who the Rams have interviewed. And then I went with number 90 here. I went with Jared Wilson, who is a center, started this year for Georgia. And because I don't think the Rams are completely sold on Bo Limmer, and we know exactly what Coleman Shelton is. And so I made that deal. I made that draft pick right there at 90. And I'm going to get to your comments here, guys, in a second. I just want to finish the top 100 or top 101. And then at 101, I filled the tight end need with, let's see here, with Gunnar Helm. Again, another guy the Rams have had interaction with and have spoken to. Tim Burns, if Dart goes in the top 10, they are overpaying. I want him at 26, but he isn't worth trading up. I think if the Steelers find him at 21, they got to take him. I think right there is a great spot to take Dart. I don't think I'd want to trade up to get him, but man, we're going to see some weird stuff, right? I think quarterbacks, because of the quarterback issues, you're going to see some weird stuff. And as Ramirez pointed out, as Steve pointed out there, that idea of picking that 5th-year option up in the first round is a huge deal, especially if the guy hits. All right, USA Expat likes my picks so far. Hope you guys like Gunnar Helm. And then at number 127, because the Rams have spoken to him and he was there, I took a linebacker to make Mr. Burns happy. I took Danny Stutzman from Oklahoma, who we've heard a lot about, and so I added that to our shopping list there. And then everything else, 190 through, I picked up the 233rd pick. There was only a couple guys there left available that the Rams had interviewed, so I added them in, and I'll put them all in right now because I don't like playing this game by myself. I'd rather hang with you guys. So you can see the guys that I drafted. 190, Jackson Slater, guard, Sacramento State, was available, so I took him. I got punished with a bad grade on that one, but I was thinking, Rams have interviewed him, and of course, Mr. Burns likes him, so I took him. I wasn't crazy about Tyler Shaw, the quarterback from Louisville, but I decided to take a swing because the Rams had interviewed him or spoken to him. And then the last 3 guys there, 201, 202, and 233, R.J. Mickens, safety, Clemson, Ty Robinson, defensive tackle, Nebraska, and Justin Wally, cornerback of Minnesota. These kind of just round out the draft. Rams have not interviewed these guys. I was intrigued by Robinson, defensive tackle, Nebraska, a guy that you could put on the line that's 6'6", 310. He loses leverage, right? He's going to get pushed out from underneath, but at 6'6", he can get those arms and hands up to knock down some passes, a la Calais Campbell, although I'm not saying he's Calais Campbell. And Justin Wally, cornerback, Minnesota, just a guy that's had a lot of experience playing college ball and would be somebody that, maybe he develops into a third corner or somebody who could do spot duty for us. So that was my mock draft that I did there. And I'm going to go into this right now. So I want to talk about minor trades that we shouldn't ignore here. Steve Ramirez. Robinson always comes up late in my recent mocks. Okay, so you're familiar with him a little bit, huh, Steve? I haven't watched film on him. I think I've seen the name, but I also think I confused him with somebody else. And then I looked at his profile and, 6'6", 312, man, that's good size for that place in the draft. So thank you. Tim Burns, Steeler fan Rob stopped sobbing about Mason Rudolph being a starting quarterback yet. Steelers GM and coach should lose pay or something. Horrible handling of quarterbacks for the years, right? And who cares if you feel like you missed on Kenny Pickett? You go back in and you try again. You just keep trying. You just keep swinging. And I would definitely take a swing on Jackson Dart, right? Because it's not a great draft in terms of overall talent. You could pick up some guys later in the draft. If a quarterback breaks out, boy, you saved your franchise 10 years. 10 years. And I think the Steelers fans should be looking at Tomlin and Omar Khan and asking them, hey, man, what are you doing here? You're going to really go into a season? You're going to go into a season counting on Aaron Rodgers signing with you, in June? You're going to go into a season with Mason Rudolph? Help me, please. I think there's an opportunity here. I think the Rams should offer Stetson Bennett to the Steelers for a 4th-round pick and see if the Steelers would bite. They're so desperate. You can't go into a season and be serious with your team saying, hey, we got a lot of faith in Mason Rudolph, right? Yeah. Okay. I talked about not ignoring minor trades, okay? And today's an interesting date in Rams history. On this day, the Rams traded the rights of wide receiver Terry Greer. They made this trade on this day in 1986. Terry Greer was drafted by the Rams, 11th round, 304th overall in 1980. He never signed with the Rams. He signed with the Toronto Argonauts in the CFL. In 6 seasons in Canada, he caught 404 passes. In 1983, he caught 113 passes for 2,000 yards, 2,003 yards, actually. Kind of interesting. O.J. Simpson ran for 2,003 in 1973 in the NFL. In the CFL, Terry Greer caught passes for 2,003 yards up in Canada. So the Rams traded his rights on this day. They traded him to Cleveland for a 4th-round pick, 96th overall in the draft. Okay. 11 days later, the Rams trade Jeff Kemp. Remember backup quarterback Jeff Kemp, UDFA out of Dartmouth, gave the Rams some steady play. They sent him to the 49ers with draft picks for 4th round, 96th overall. That was the pick they got from Cleveland for Terry Greer. And they also gave up their 4th-round pick, which turned out to be 101 overall in 1986. They sent all that to the San Francisco 49ers to move up to the 3rd round for 71st overall in 1986. Okay? Now, doing my rest of the story here, Greer plays 1 season in Cleveland, gets traded to Frisco, where he plays 3 seasons and picks up a pair of Super Bowl rings, backing up Jerry Rice, John Taylor, and Mike Wilson. Good for Terry Greer, okay? But that 3rd-round pick the Rams traded for becomes Hugh Millen out of Washington. I saw Hugh Millen at Washington. I was sick when the Rams drafted Hugh Millen at Washington. This was in the 86 draft. This was before the deal that brought in Jim Everett. Millen ended up bouncing around. I think the Rams released him after 87. He went to Atlanta. He started a few games for the Patriots in the late 80s, early 90s. Strong arm, but he was a Huffnagel type, right? He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Jeff Kemp for the 49ers in 86 starts 10 games, starts 6 games, plays in 10. He keeps the 49ers afloat after Joe Montana goes down with a back injury. So what about those 2 4th-round picks that the Rams sent to the 49ers? Well, the 101st pick in the 4th round turned out to be left tackle Steve Wallace. He plays 11 seasons with the 49ers, starts 8, and wins 3 Super Bowls. You gave the 49ers a starting left tackle, right? Let's talk about the other one. That 4th-round pick that was 96th overall, Hall of Famer Charles Haley. Yeah. That's what we did with the pick we got for Terry Greer. We packaged it together with another 4th-rounder and Jeff Kemp because we wanted Hugh frickin' Millen. And we gave the 49ers a decade-long starting left tackle and a Hall of Famer named Charles Haley, who I think ended up getting 5 Super Bowl rings. Yeah. This goes with my old story. You don't trade within the division. In 1983, the Rams sent Wendell Tyler to the 49ers. They got a 2nd and a 3rd rounder for him, which wasn't bad, but you gave the 49ers the missing piece to put alongside Roger Craig. Without a bad pass interference penalty in 1983, 49ers go to the Super Bowl in 83. They face the Raiders instead of the Redskins. And then in 84, they win the whole thing. And, Wendell Tyler gets a ring, right? And what do the Rams get, right? You traded within the division and you built up your worst enemy. Rams also released Jack Reynolds after the 1980 season. Now, this wasn't a trade, but in the lack of foresight with Jack Reynolds somewhere, because the Rams were in transition, Klosterman wasn't in full control anymore, they released Jack Reynolds thinking, this guy, whatever. He's signed by Bill Walsh to be the veteran influence. And Jack Reynolds ends up going to the Super Bowl in 81 and winning a ring, going to the Super Bowl in 84 and winning a ring for the 49ers. Honestly, Veterans Committee needs to go back and revisit Jack Reynolds. They're going to come after him because he didn't play enough Pro Bowls, but there weren't enough spots to play in Pro Bowls for middle linebackers back in the 70s and in the 80s. Jack Reynolds is a Hall of Fame player. I believe that fully. And keep in thought, last I heard, his health wasn't too good. But again, the Rams walked away from Jack Reynolds. 49ers picked him up, won two Super Bowls with him. Rams traded Wendell Tyler to the 49ers. They went to an NFC Championship game, should have gone to another Super Bowl, but they did win the following Super Bowl against the Dolphins. Oh, and just to make sure, so these minor trades and these little move-ups and move-arounds, they do mean something. In 1994, the Rams owned the 5th pick in the draft. They took a 3rd rounder from the Colts to move back to the 7th spot. If you remember that 94 draft, that's where Dwayne Kuiper got into it with the Colts executive because the Colts drafted Trev Alberts at number 5 instead of Trent Dilfer. And there was a huge brouhaha there on the set with ESPN. It's like when they still did sports. Either way, the Rams took the 3rd rounder and moved back to the 7th spot. Okay, so the Rams are in the 7th spot, okay? Then they took an offer that offered them the 15th overall pick in the 1st round, pick number 56 in the 2nd round, and pick number 100, which would at that time still been 3rd round or 4th round, I think. That would have been 3 picks in the first 100. That's kind of a cool trade. But of course, they butchered the picks. Only Wayne Gandy amounted to anything. We just talked about him the other day, and he was just okay. But you know who they made that deal with? They made that deal with the 49ers. And the 49ers drafted Bryant Young, defensive tackle, who only plays 14 years, wins a Super Bowl, and goes to the Hall of Fame. Here's Georgia and the Rams saying, here you go to your number 1 rival in your division. Heck, the Rams built that Frisco dynasty, right? They went to George Allen when they could have hired Bill Walsh. The Rams should get a ring or some kind of mention in some ring of honor at Levi Stadium for helping build that 49er dynasty. And I just leave it that every one of these trades has a residue. They mean something, and they're always worth keeping an eye on. In fact, I think, I'll have to double check. I think now that it comes to mind, Rams have the 190th pick, okay? I think they got that pick from Atlanta for Van Jefferson. It'll just be really interesting to see what the Rams do with it, because if they hit a home run with pick number 190, it's going to be that trade of Van Jefferson that brought it all about, that everyone kind of just, right? And it always happens. So it's always good to keep an eye on these moves up and these moves back. But this was the anniversary of it came up in my notes of the Terry Greer deal, which led to that 4th round, 96th overall pick, bringing Charles Haley ultimately to the 49ers. Just kills me sometimes when you look at this stuff. All right, let's see. USA Expat. I will submit my mock next week. There will be no trade downs allowed. Yeah, that's the hard part when you start looking at the trade downs, because you're tempted to see what other teams are going to do, because I think other teams are going to want to trade back and such. But I think there will be a hunger there, as Steve says, to stay in the 1st round with these quarterbacks to get that 5th year. USA Expat. Met Hacksaw once. Need to share that. Great story one day. Oh, I hope he was cool. I heard he was a good dude. That's cool that you met him. Tim Burns. Dart said he won't be going to draft day. Maybe he feels that he isn't going to be picked day one. He has to know he isn't getting past Pitt and the Rams. I think it's cool when they do say no. I think it's kind of cliched to walk that carpet. I kind of lost all interest in the draft for not all interest. I'm sorry. I stopped watching it on the first day. I'm sitting there the first time they moved it to prime time. And is it Melissa Stark, whoever's on the NFL channel? She's on the red carpet and she's just asking the most ridiculous questions to these athletes walking in because it's all stupid stuff. It's all performative. And she's asking them peanut butter or jelly, Elvis or the Beatles, and all these kind of dumb questions. And they try to turn the NFL draft, which was the greatest Saturday when I was younger, was the greatest Saturday of the year to watch the first 3 rounds of the NFL draft on Saturday. And they made it a primetime event and they tried to Hollywood it out. I lost interest. I don't want to hear sad stories. We don't want to care about he's playing for his grandma who has one leg and she was injured in, some skiing accident in Vermont 50 years ago. I don't want to hear any of these sobs. Everybody's got a story. But they try to create all these stories. And I don't know. If I'm an NFL guy too, if I'm a scout, I want a player that is going to do what was it? Was it Thomas? Was it Joe Thomas that went in Cleveland? Everyone knew he was going to be a top pick and he was out fishing, right? So I kind of like it when the guys don't show up. Jalen Milroe, I've understood, is showing up. Is that correct? If Jalen Milroe is going to show up, I wonder if he's been told something, right? Because that's a lot of egg on your face to sit in that room until the second day. I almost felt bad for Will Levis when he was going through that. Let's see here. Dano. All right, Dano. Thoughts on Rams drafting in LA Fire, command. I think it's cool. I think it's great public relations, man. I think it really is. I think they have a good feel for what's going to strike a chord. I kind of like the draft house myself, but if it's good, if it's going to raise awareness for the firefighters and everything, I guess we're good with it. It's all virtue signaling in the end. But if you're going to virtue signal, why not virtue signal for the guys that put out the fires? So I'm cool. Steve Ramirez and Bill Walsh wanted to coach the Rams. There we go. There you go. Oh, yeah, I know. There we go. Tim Burns, Mina Kimes says, Bach. Because she's a Seahawk fan, right? Is that what we're talking about there, Mr. Burns? Give me a heads up on that one. All right. Let's see here. I went through my Ram rage, looking at something. Also, another reminder about the draft is the Rams have a full complement of draft picks for next year and in 2027. So I hope it doesn't happen this year. We're looking at next year. But if they wanted to do something out of the box, something crazy, something different, something, whatever, if they wanted to make a deal for Vita Vea, right? They could do something like that because they do have capital in 26 and 27. Okay, around the NFL and other places, this one seems minor on most ends, but the Rams are playing the Saints this year. Saints right tackle Ryan Ramczyk has announced his retirement. He was a first-round pick in 2017, been injured a little bit the last few years, but solid right tackle, and they're moving on. I mean, he's retiring, so that is another thing, another shock to the Saints system. Not only are you in doubt about having Derek Carr, now you lose your right tackle, and you got all these plus 30-year-olds on the roster. Man, rebuild. Blow the sucker up. In former Ram news,
they come and they go, Hobbs. They come and they go.
In former Ram news, the Bills have signed former Ram Trey White to a 1-year contract. I hope the dude makes it. It's a bummer. You would want your career to end, because you've played it all, not because you had a series of injuries and you were at the top of your game before those injuries came in. I'm glad the Rams made the move that they made with Trey White when they brought him in, and I was glad they made the move to get him out when it just wasn't going well, and that's just what happens. Tim Burns, if the Rams use firefighters on draft day, will they show up 8 hours too late? Well, first, I think I would check the fire hydrant to make sure there's water in there. If you live anywhere where I live, because I'm in the San Gabriel Valley, what happened to some of those homes near the foothills is there was no water in the fire hydrants. It's like, help me, right? We could do a whole long show on that one. All right, the drama with Nico Imaleva, the former Tennessee quarterback, who Steve and UCLA guys are salivating for. We spoke about it on Wednesday, and I wanted to get this in there because the rumor, I don't know if he's even signed yet. I don't even think he's official there yet. The rumor was he's going to be at 1.5 rocks. He was getting 2 at Tennessee, but the rumor is right now he's only going to get 1.5 at UCLA. And I saw something on, and I'll take it because I'm only just looking at the links to this story. I'm not really going deep into it, but I saw the thing where he make a statement that said if the commitments made to him regarding his NIL have not been met by the playoffs, he'll sit out the playoffs. I've heard he's a good kid. In fact, I got a friend in the business who's interviewed him, said he's a great kid. I don't know who's talking to him, but this is not how you win new friends and influence new people, right? This is hardly Dale Carnegie talk, right? Man, the dude should just, maybe he comes home, has a great run at UCLA, and everything's great, right? Deshaun Foster will love him. They are competitive. Good. I hope that happens. But man, dude, bro, someone who's telling you to talk, don't talk if those things are true. This is true. This was a post by Tom Luganbill. He's a scout, and I think he's on ESPN now, but his dad was Al Luganbill, coached San Diego State. Pretty good offensive mind there in the old days. Used to hear a lot about him from the old Mighty 690 show and stuff when they were covering San Diego State with Marshall Falk and everything. Of course, that was Mr. Burns' old stomping ground. But Luganbill had this post on Twitter the other day, and I put it on my Facebook link, and I wanted to read it because I thought it was really important. And this is what Luganbill wrote. He says, there have been over 3,600 players counting that have entered the transfer portal in the 24-25 cycle, including walk-ons. And he says, hey, players, there aren't enough scholarships. And hey, players, your representatives, start doing the math. If you haven't been tampered with and you don't have a deal in writing, you better think twice. The majority of you are going to either transfer down or be left without a scholarship. Boom, huh? There's the cold reality, which you can't stop with any edict or act or action because there is no central power anymore in college football, and the NCAA has created this disaster because they're a disaster. Now the one thing that could put a halt on the train that's spinning out of control is the fact there's just not enough places to land. It's like musical chairs, right? And Nico left 2 rocks, hoping to get 4 rocks, and now he has to take a 1.5 rock chair at UCLA, and he better be happy to get it. Really fascinating stuff there. I thought that was a pretty insightful thing from Tom Luganbill. Let's see here. All right, cool. We ate up all of our questions. We're good. You guys have more questions, throw them my way. Draft dates Thursday through Saturday, April 24th through the 26th. Definitely, we will be doing a post-draft show on the first night, even if the Rams trade out and don't draft. We're still going to do a show. I am on the road the 25th. And then we're looking at second week of May 13th, May 14th, someplace in there, the actual NFL schedule release. We know who the Rams' opponents are, but we don't know when and what order. And that's important because we want to know when are the Rams going to Philadelphia, when are the Rams going to Baltimore, and all those outdoor places, including Tennessee. So keep an eye on that. Steve Ramirez, yes, on the portal. UCLA guard Dylan Andrews went to Boise State. Seems like a down move to me. A little bit. I mean, I like Boise State, but in terms of prestige, it would be UCLA. But, technically Boise made the playoffs last year, right? I think UCLA, my view is, I don't know if Deshaun Foster's the guy or if UCLA has the chips to play in the Big Ten game, right? I expect them to be more of the Northwestern type that make a run every few years and stuff. Oh, okay. Guard Dylan Andrews. My bad, Steve. Yeah, that is a down move. If you're going to go to Boise State in basketball, that is a down move. But it's all about the bread, right? I'm surprised that you know, Cromer is still there, wanting to be head coach. You know, where you hear him talk. Let's keep moving here. We're at the 35-minute mark. I don't sense a 40-minute day, 50-minute day today. Let's see. Rams have full complement of picks. The things we're seeing here is it has to be an exceptional wide receiver. Otherwise, it's going to be an offensive lineman or a corner. And if it's going to be a corner, that's where I just see a trade back. I don't think there's a clear-cut corner at 26. I see the Rams moving back, and I'm looking at this here again. Names that just keep popping up that are just a little bit out of the box. Jihad Campbell, the linebacker out of Texas, and Maxwell Harrison. In fact, I actually saw a mock talking about the Rams should trade up for Maxwell Harrison. And man, that just didn't make sense. Didn't make sense to me at all. All right, let's look at this. Let's look at this on this date in Rams history. Of course, we talked about Terry Greer. 1978, on this day, the Rams signed former Packer, former Pacific quarterback named Carlos Brown. Carlos Brown, I think, changed his name to Alan Autry. In fact, he plays one of the running backs in North Dallas 40, and he had an acting career because he shouldn't last long. I actually got a Carlos Brown card. There you go. On this day in 1990, the Rams signed former UCLA defensive back Lupe Sanchez. There you go. That's a Steve guy from UCLA. On this day in 1998, the NFL draft started, and the Rams had a heck of a draft in 98. They drafted at number 6, Grant Windstrom, number 37, fullback Robert Holcomb. Where was, we got a few guys here that want fullbacks pretty bad. They took him at 37. At number 65, they took Leonard Little. And then it got really crazy the next day. They took Oz Hakeem at 96 and Roland Williams, tight end, at number 98. Oz Hakeem, another San Diego State dude that Mr. Burns would love to have. On this date in 2003, the Rams waived Eric Crouch, wide receiver. Remember Eric Crouch? He was a quarterback. The Rams drafted him. They spent a third-round pick on him in 2002. Less than a year later, they put him in the street. And on this day in 2022, the Rams waived Kareem Orr. And I guess I call this Kareem Orr Day. If you remember Kareem Orr, he was the guy the Rams pulled up off the practice squad after they had lost all those games. Remember, 3 in a row there in November of 2021, and all of a sudden they decided, who was it? The league decided that Jalen Ramsey had COVID, and I don't know, Andrew Whitworth couldn't play and all that stuff. That's where we found out a little bit more about Alaric Jackson. But the Rams had to activate Kareem Orr. He played a decent game. I think he got into the game a little bit later that season, and then that was it. And now his career is over. He's probably coaching somewhere. But he did a good job because people were expecting the Cardinals, who've been playing well that season. If you remember, in 2021, the Cardinals won their first, 10 games? And Kareem Orr stepped up there. So there you go. Willie Bowen, you're the guy. You should be celebrating. It was on this day, Willie, 27 years ago, the Rams drafted Robert Holcomb, fullback. I knew you would appreciate that. Also born on this day in 1938, Richie Pettibone, safety, Tulane. He was a George Allen favorite, played 1969, 1970 with the Rams at strong safety. Picked off 6 passes, spent 10 years with the Bears, went in multiple Pro Bowls, and was all pro in 63, 48 career picks. He was traded to the Redskins in August of 71. He wasn't part of the Redskins deal, but in August of 71, he was sent to the Redskins and a 6th-round pick in 1973. But the second round was upgraded to a 1st-round pick in 74 when it was learned that George Allen and the Redskins had already traded that 2nd-round pick. Now, here's where it gets really funky, is that 1st-round pick that the Rams had in 1974 was sent to the Bears as compensation for signing free agent wide receiver Dick Gordon. Dick Gordon, there's a really nice video about Dick Gordon on YouTube. You should check it out, how he was coming to the Rams, and he wanted to wear, I think, Bob Waterfield's number, and they wouldn't let him do it. And Gordon, I think, caught 5 passes for the Rams. He was at the end of his run, but he cost the Rams a number 1 pick. And a few games into the 73 season, I was arguing with the coach, and he got released. The Bears used that draft pick became the 20th pick overall in 1974 to draft Dave Gallagher, 6'6", 256 out of 6'4", 256 out of Michigan. He played 1 season with the Bears, 2 with the Giants, and 2 with the Lions. I think he became a doctor or something. He only had 4 sacks in all that time. So that one didn't hurt the Rams as much, although I think they could have used that 20th overall pick a little better than the Bears would have. That'd be interesting to look back and see who went 20th, who was available there in the 74 draft. Tomorrow, since we're not on the air, want to throw out in 1997, the Rams drafted Orlando Pace, number 1 overall, the last left tackle to really hit. Rams won't hit on another tackle until they draft Rob Havenstein 18 years later when they're in St. Louis. Birthdays tomorrow, the late Jack Pardee would be 89. The late Joe Schiavelli would be 86 if they were still with us. Also, turning 53 tomorrow is former Ram kicker and probably the best kicker in Rams history, Jeff Wilkins. Sunday, Easter Sunday, just want to throw this out there. Not a good day for Ram running backs. On Sunday, on April 20th, 1996, Rams traded Jerome Bettis to the Steelers. And then on April 20th, 1996, the Rams drafted Lawrence Phillips, running back. That didn't work out. April 20th, 2001, the Rams had won a Super Bowl in 99. Trent Green played in 2000 when Kurt Warner went down. But Dick Vermeil came back into the league in 2001. He needed a quarterback. He loved Trent Green. The Chiefs gave the 12th overall pick, first-round pick, on that date, April 20th, 2001, to the Rams for Trent Green. What a deal. And the Rams drafted the guy that was being built as the next Warren Sapp out of the University of Miami, defensive tackle Damian Lewis, who in 5 seasons with the Rams, in 69 games, only 29 as a starter, recorded a whopping 10.5 sacks. If you can say bust at any time, that was a bust, and another breakdown of showing how the Rams butchered everything. Now, Damone Lewis was a bust in 2001. In 2000, the Rams' number 1 draft pick was a Trung candidate. So back-to-back years, the Rams whiffed on their number 1 draft pick. So throw that out there. April 20th, this Sunday, would be John Arnett's 90th birthday. He passed away a few years ago. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see. Okay, wow. They came bring back Jalen Ramsey, Willie Bowen. All right, he's good there. Steve Ramirez, I did a mock where I traded 26 to the Jets for 42, 73, and 110. Ooh, that's even better. And the Notre Dame Benjamin Morrison at 42. I've seen Morrison's name climbing more and more into the conversation. That would be interesting. Tim Burns welcomes fullback Bowen into the house. Willie Bowen, Jared Casey, fullback out of Kansas, Jayhawks, 2025 draft. Tim Burns, since Willie is going to personally bring back the football position, he is now referred to as fullback Bowen. Okay. Let's see. Pastor Joe, this is from Dano. Rank the NFC quarterbacks in the West. Well, right now, obviously Matthew Stafford. At the bottom, I would put, for this right now, I would put Sam Darnold. And then it's a talk between Brock Purdy or Kyler Murray. And I know that people are going to think I'm hating here. Brock Purdy's the second best quarterback in the West. Kyler Murray, I don't trust him, right? I don't trust him. He will make the splash play. He'll make the splash play, but he won't keep it together consistently. He just won't. And Brock Purdy, I think I feel like a broken record on this. Brock Purdy's done nothing but win. He makes big throws. Now, it's going to hurt if they give him. I know Puka came out and says, man, they shouldn't give him 50 rocks. It's going to hurt if they give him that much, right? Because he does need the help. He's going to need those other guys. But did you see the throws he made? He made throws Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't make. Those anticipation throws going across the middle. I mean, he's a good quarterback. He needs help, but he's a good quarterback. And honestly, I hate to say it, and I've done this before, is Brock Purdy was the reason the 49ers almost won that Super Bowl with the Chiefs. The reason the 49ers lost that Super Bowl was because of Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy tied the game at 13. Then he put him up 16-13. Then he put him up 19-16. Then he put him up 22-19. Brock Purdy did his job, but they couldn't get it together. And then Kyle Shanahan got absolutely schooled on that last play before Mahomes threw the touchdown pass. The way they let that clock run down and run down and run down, they were playing chicken. And it's like, hey, you know what? It's not about the clock. It's about the play. And instead of calling timeout, they let it go, and Mahomes hit McCole Hardman. That's not Brock Purdy's fault. I don't even know if it's completely Steve Wilkes' fault. What's Kyle Shanahan doing? And 49ers had that Super Bowl. They had it because of Brock Purdy. He's a better quarterback than Jimmy G. And for right now, not talent-wise, he's not as fast or probably doesn't have as strong as arm as Kyler Murray, but right now he's the better quarterback. And I sour on Sam Darnold a little bit because he does get that deer in the headlights. That guy that said he was seeing ghosts in New York, boy, how many times was he sacked that Thursday night against the Rams? We know he was sacked 9 times in the playoff game. He does have a tendency not to process quickly. And so that's where I go. I go Stafford, Purdy, Murray, and then I'll go Sam Darnold. Let's see here. All right. I think we're all Tim Burns agrees with me. Oh, no. Burns likes Darnold better than Kyler. Dan likes Darnold better than Kyler. I think if Sam's playing his game consistently, he is. And, he might put it all together there in Seattle. He's just got to stay put. But I just think we've seen his limitations when he gets exposed for too long. And I say this as somebody who got burned by him, who was believing in him the first half of his season in Carolina, and he was racking up some fantasy points for me, and then he killed me. He just killed me. There you go. All right, guys. Hey, we're at the 47-minute mark. If you have another question, you want to throw it at me, feel free, and we'll go from there. But, did you know the Rams were responsible for giving the 49ers Bill Walsh, for giving the 49ers Jack Hacksaw Reynolds, for giving the 49ers Wendell Tyler, for giving the 49ers Steve Wallace and Charles Haley and Bryant Young? Did you know the Rams were responsible for that? Yeah, pretty brutal stuff that we got there. But I'll hang around to the 50-minute mark. If you guys have something, throw it at me, and that way we'll say we did 50 minutes. Saints are in trouble, right? They've got all kinds of issues there. I think I talked about them last week. On Wednesday's show, I talked about the teams I like that are interesting to me. Some teams aren't interesting to me. Depending on what they do in the draft, the Giants are not interesting to me at all. I'm curious on both ways, going back and forth. The Cowboys are just awful. If I'm the Cowboys and I got a chance to draft him, I'm drafting Shedeur Sanders no matter what. I'm drafting Shedeur, and I'm just doing it because we know what Dak Prescott is. I just would. There's another team here that just doesn't interest me at all. 49ers, man. The 49ers, right? Mac Jones, Demarcus Robinson, Kyle Juszczyk. They got 12 picks, but they got 12 picks in a weak draft. So that one is pretty fascinating. The Dolphins, right? Even the talk and the discussion about moving off Jalen Ramsey and the whole idea here of, they lost Terry and Armstead, right? He hasn't signed anywhere. I don't know if he's officially retired. And then on top of that, all the talk, you never know what's up with Tyreek Hill, right? And have we seen the best of Tyreek Hill? Yeah. Different things in Finland. Let's see here. Evan Holtz, how did the Rams give the 49ers coach Bill Walsh to them? Well, it's kind of a cute thing there, Evan, I'll share it, is that Walsh was at Stanford and wanted to come. The Rams interviewed him. He wanted the Rams job. and the Rams went with George Allen instead. And of course, they fired him 2 games into the preseason. I can say I was at George Allen's final game when they lost to the Patriots in the preseason, but Bill Walsh wanted to be the head coach of the Rams. And now, I think Walsh's greatness also was the fact that he was paired with Eddie DeBartolo as an owner. Would Walsh's greatness have overcome Georgia Frontiere and that nightmare? I don't know, but the Rams made a poor choice in that, and he ends up 2 years later, he ends up in Frisco. So that one's a little loose, but I'm going to say he wanted to be the Rams head coach. And then Jack Reynolds was released. He wasn't traded there, but the idea that you look at a player like Jack Reynolds and you release him, it's like, how could you release Jack Reynolds? So there you go. Tim Burns saw a story Kupp doesn't want to play in Seattle and is linked to Brady and the Raiders. Are you serious? Are you serious? He let that out? What, are they going to trade him or something? They just signed him. Well, what's going on there with that one, Mr. Burns? JD Durham, ugh. I think you're referring to Bill Walsh not coaching the Rams. Evan Hutz, yeah, thanks. Yeah, thank you. No problem. Steve Ramirez, McVay's grandfather, was also in San Francisco. Yeah, I don't know if he was GM or player personnel, but John McVay, I think he was there for a number of years and helped build that franchise. I'm in with a Zoom roundtable. Okay. I'm thinking about doing that at some point, maybe after the draft. We could do a Zoom call, all of us, and or as many of us as want to, and then we can record it, and we could all just kind of just share our thoughts. That would be kind of fun. Neil Gonzalez, thank you, Neil, for chiming in. The Rams should draft corner, tight end, linebacker, quarterback, tackle, receiver, defensive tackle, receiver, corner, and safety. Okay. Tim Burns down with the Zoom also. All right. Okay. You guys got my email. It's right there in the thing. So let me know if you're interested by sending me an email. Neil, I definitely think you could get that corner and you can get that tight end outside the first round. Saves you some money, and maybe you pick up some more capital there. I'm starting to like Danny Stutzman because I saw some more stuff on him. I'm liking him a lot. And quarterback, I'm interested in anybody because I think the boat has sailed on Stetson Bennett, right? I think it's Stetson. It's sailed. My one thing at number 26 is if there is that dynamic player. I like Omarion Hampton. I've been talking about him since January. I like one of those receivers. I like a tight end, or it's not exciting, but if there's a guy that you can draft that can play right tackle within a year, that's what I would do as well. So let's see. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't answer that for you, Willie. Joe, who's your favorite all-time Rams quarterback? Okay. I started with Gabriel at the end of his run. So that 72 season was not a great year for Gabriel. So I didn't have any attachment when the Rams moved off of him. For 1 year, I loved John Hadle, even though he was bald, right? It's like, how can a bald guy be the quarterback of the Rams, right? And that's before those guys shaved their heads, right? Now they always had that fluff up there. Yeah, it didn't look cool. Big James Harris guy. I liked Jaworski, but man, the Jaworski that was in Philly was not the Jaworski with the Rams. So, give Vermeil credit for developing him. But I was a huge James Harris fan. I really was. I loved James Harris. I emulated James Harris. I used to stand in front of the mirror and follow his motion because I loved James Harris. I was never sold on Pat Hayden, and I wasn't a big Ferragamo guy until after that run in 79 and then in 80, after it passed, you began to see that guy made big time throws, and so my Ramirez Ferragamo went up in stock. Really heartbroken about Burt Jones because I was a big Burt Jones fan. We just got him too late. The other guys, Jeff Rutledge, Jeff Kemp, those guys were okay. Was it Steve Walsh before he went to the Bears? And then we all had high hopes for Everett, right? And then Larry Roberts killed them all. And that was the end of that. And you got Chris Miller, TJ Rubley, Tony Banks. Then they had the run of Bono, Rippon, and all those guys coming in the late 90s there. I liked Kurt Warner a lot. So I think and I like Mark Bulger more than people say, but it would have to come down to Harris, Warner, and Stafford. That's what it would come down for me. Harris, because it's heartbreak, never got his full opportunity. Warner, he was in St. Louis and his time was short. So I think Stafford is my favorite Ram quarterback of all time at this point. So there you go. Long way around the horn. Long way around the horn for me to get to that one. Tim Burns, if you could have anyone at 26 that could be there, Matthew Golden, wicked fast, instant deep threat for Staff. I'm down with it. Right? One of the things that's going to happen one of these days that the one thing you get to do when your team sucks, right, when you're the Cardinals, is you get to come on a program like this or a platform like this and say, man, my team sucks. And you could actually talk and probably make a better argument than your team does. The problem with the Rams, they've been so successful in the McSnead era, is that we always have to defer. Yeah, hey, McSnead we trust. We have to trust those guys. Let's see. Willie, our fullback must wear a neck roll. There you go. Okay. Dano, Matthew Golden would be nice. Tim Burns, going to say this now and people will think I'm crazy. Travis Hunter will never be a Pro Bowler. Ooh, okay. All right, I'm going to mark you, Burns. April 18th, 2025. J.D. Durham, Warner, Stafford. I'm going Stafford. I like Warner. I think Warner proved himself, going to the Cardinals and what he did there, but I'm going to go Stafford. Willie Bowen, Everett, Stafford, Ferragamo. I think everything was so much promise with Everett, and just, I think there's all kinds of things we could discuss about Everett and what happened at the end there. I think the support around him eroded, and they didn't help him. Everett is top 5. Okay, I'm not arguing that. When you look at the highlights, I'll tell you this. You look at the old highlights and you read more about it. Norm Van Brocklin, right? Look at Norm Van Brocklin. He had the winning touchdown pass to Tom Fears in the 51 title game. Waterfield had the winning touchdown pass to Jim Benton in the 45 game. Warner had the winning touchdown pass to Bruce in the Super Bowl 34. Stafford to Cup in Super Bowl 56. I kind of lean Van Brocklin a little bit because he went and did it in Philadelphia as well. So against the Packers, right? That was pretty interesting. So Tim Burns, over a 3-year period, Everett was better than Montana. Man, bro, you're looking at numbers there. I'm going to disagree with you on that one, Mr. Burns. At no point in his career, to me, was Jim Everett better than Joe Montana. I think, Montana went through those struggles a little bit with Young and stuff, and Everett kind of climbed that ladder beginning in 88 and 89. Those were his golden years. But in 88, 89, Montana was winning Super Bowls for the 49ers. And so, I know it might be heresy to say that on RamView, but I am pro Joe Montana. Let's see. For Steve Ramirez, Gabe, Harris, Stafford. Yeah, so you guys got the glory year, Steve. You started following late 60s, so you saw him when he was great. I've just seen the highlights of Gabriel, so he wasn't as legendary to me. Bod Waterfield was married to actress Jane Russell. Does that mean we move him up? Should we move him up because he was married to Jane Russell? Tribe, never thought I'd like someone more than Kurt, but Stafford is such a good dude. And he's just a great quarterback, right? I mean, that's the thing you have to appreciate about these quarterbacks. I appreciated it in Montana. I appreciated it in Elway, where I didn't like them early, but you just saw how they played and how they just knew their business. Even, I mentioned this about Peyton Manning. His arm was shot there in Denver, but you'd see him do that work at the line of scrimmage, and he knew what was coming and where it was coming from. Just master at the line of scrimmage. And you see that in Stafford, is that he knows. And if you keep him upright, and you should just pay tickets just to see him play quarterback. Forget the winning and the losing and all that. Just when you watch a guy that's so good at his craft, and that's what I think about Stafford. Let's see. Tim Burns, Waterfield pulled a hottie. Oh, there we go. Steve Ramirez, Waterfield does get a lot of extra brownie points for that. Hey, Waterfield actually got 2 rings, 45 and 51. Now, he was sharing time with Van Brocklin in 51, but he got that ring his rookie year there in 45 with Cleveland. So if you look at his stats, different ball game, different era, but I'm glad he's in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be. All right, guys, we're at the 59-minute mark. I got to go. Yeah, ever hear Cup Talk patterns? Imagine Peyton to Cooper. Absolutely. Well, we got something pretty good. Stafford to Cup. All right, guys, God bless. Take care. We will see you on Monday.